What's going on, guys? MoneyGuy here, and today I'm back with another Storytime video. Now, today's story happened when I was 10 years old, and you see, I vividly remember this story because it's just been ingrained in my memory since it happened, and I've had, PTSD throughout the years of it. And so, let's just get started. So, as a kid, I was very much into cars. Like I just thought cars were like the coolest thing in the world as a kid. And I was just like, man, I can't wait to grow up and be able to have and drive my own car. So one day I remember asking my parents if I could learn how to drive just so that I would be prepared in the future. And surprisingly, they said yes. So I don't know if in Mexico they just like start driving at a younger age than in the US, but either way, I was just so happy that they said yes. And so at the time, my parents, they had like three cars. So they had like my mom's van, and then my dad had just recently gotten a new car. And so then we had this our like old like little red car, and that was the car that like my parents decided that I would use to learn how to drive. And so every weekend my mom would take me to our elementary school and just like teach me how to drive in like the little like circle way at the school. And so even though I was very young to learn how to drive, at least we weren't like dumb enough to learn how to practice like on the actual road. And so we just like practice on at the school. And instead of endangering a whole lot of people on the road, I was only endangering my whole family. So it is what it is. So I remember one day there was this car that came into the school, and now usually we would see a couple of cars, but most of the time they would just like go park at the school, go do their thing, and then they just leave it eventually. But this car specifically, like I remember like them turning into our little like circle roadway and then parking like right next to us. And I remember this lady came out of the car and like started tapping on our like glass window. And so my mom, she like lowered the window, and then this lady started talking to us, and she was like, hey, uh what are you guys doing? And so my mom, she's Mexican, so she obviously doesn't know that much English. And so I sort of had to be the one like talking to her. So I was just like, uh my mom's teaching me how to drive. And then the lady was like, oh yeah, that's good, how old are you? And looking back on it, I really like should have lied. And in the moment I was thinking about lying about my age, but like I was like so scared in the moment. And like even if I'd said an older age, I didn't look that old at all. So I just like told her the truth, and I was like, I'm 10. And she was like, in a very condescending manner, like, wow, don't you think you're like really young to be learning how to drive? And this whole time I was just like so scared, and like I didn't know like what was happening. And then she was like, I feel like it would be better if you started learning how to drive when you were more like 13 or 14, or not 10. And she was like scolding basically both myself and my mom. She was like saying stuff like, wow, this is very dangerous. You're endangering like the lives of yourself, and look, the kids in the back don't even have their seatbelts on. And it was true. Like I looked behind me, and like for some reason my brother and my sister just didn't have their seatbelts on. So this whole situation just looked very, I mean, it was very bad, but like it just looked even worse. So the lady kept like scolding and just like telling us stuff for like 2 more minutes. And then she said, if you guys don't get out of here, I might have to call the police. And then that's when like I instantly, like my heart just sank, and I was just so like scared and worried about what was gonna happen, and I literally almost started bursting into tears right away. I had to like hold back my tears, and she was just like, I think you guys should go now. And then I like whimpered. I was like, okay. And basically I like got out of the car, and so did my mom, and we sort of just like switched, and she went to the driver's seat and I went to the passenger seat. And like, even though like my mom couldn't understand what she was saying, she sort of knew like the situation, what kind of was happening. And so we sort of just like, as soon as we switched, we just like drove off. And I remember just like slouching in the passenger seat and just like not looking out the window at all. I was just sort of like hiding and just like so worried that she was like following us, or she actually was calling the police. And so I was just so scared about what was gonna happen, and I remember just crying the whole time on the way home. And so after that day, I remember not having any more driving lessons. And I also remember, like, I was wearing a Spider-Man t-shirt at the time, and I remember just like when I got home, taking off, putting on another shirt, and I remember never wearing that Spider-Man t-shirt ever again, because I was afraid that like if I did wear it and like I saw her at like school or something, that she would recognize me and like call the police or something. I don't know, but all I do remember is that for the longest time this memory has always been like ingrained. And before this, I was so excited to get a driver's license and start driving, and then afterwards I literally just did not want to go anywhere near a car, or like I didn't want to drive for the longest of time. So this memory will just like forever be stuck with me. But I've kind of like gotten over it for the most part. Like sometimes I am actually still a little afraid, but you sometimes just have to get over it. And so I guess the lesson for this story is be safe, make sure you wear a seatbelt, and also don't be dumb and don't let a 10-year-old take control of a mass vehicle of destruction, because cars are very dangerous. They could just like explode and like we could all die. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this story, and I hope to see you all for the next one. Peace.